Good evening, guys. So tonight we'll be going over social development theory by Lev Vygotsky. I've taken the liberty of printing out these slides so everyone has a copy with a section for notes. We'll also be able to think, pair, share with each other so that we grasp on to some of Vygotsky's social development theory themes. I hope you guys are ready to roll, and let's do this. So Lev Vygotsky was a Russian psychologist. He was born in 1896. Unfortunately, he died pretty early at 37 from tuberculosis. Much of his work wasn't developed fully because of that sudden death. And within the last 10 years of his life, he became the foundation in cognitive development. So the social development theory is important to education. The major theme of Vygotsky's framework is that social interaction plays a fundamental role in the development of cognition. Social interaction is important because it affects the learning process of an individual and it creates consciousness and awareness upon that individual. Vygotsky believed that the social interactions that children engaged in help them discover and create meaning from the world. So as I said before, we'll be think pair sharing most of the night. Um, First off, we're going to start off by going over the four major themes of Vygotsky's theory. The first is the role of the social interaction in cognitive development. The second, more knowledgeable other. Third, zone of proximal development. And fourth, scaffolding. Language is very important to the social interaction in cognitive development. So I want you guys to think, how is language important to social interactions? You guys are going to pair up and then we're going to share out loud. So language is super important because it plays a central role in mental development. It's also the main reason by which adults transmit information to children. And then it itself becomes a very powerful tool of intellectual adaptation. Vygotsky believed that language was the most important tool that humans could utilize. He also believed that there are three forms of language: social, private, and silent inner. Social speech is the external communication that people use to talk with others. He believed that that was developed around the age of 2. In private speech, it's the internal communication that a person directs to themselves, which serves as an intellectual function. Vygotsky believed that that was developed around age 3. And in the silent inner speech, private speech diminishes in its audibility until it becomes a self-regulating function, which happens around the age of 7. So Vygotsky's second theme was the more knowledgeable other. I want you to recall a time when you had to learn from someone younger than you. Pair off, and then we'll share out loud. Great job sharing, guys. The MKO is any person who has a higher level of ability or understanding than the learner. Normally, when we think of an MKO, we refer to an older adult or teacher or an expert. MKOs could also refer to our friends, younger people, and even electronic devices like computers and cell phones. So, on your own, I'd like you to list 5 examples of MKOs to your students in your classrooms currently. And you can make this list on the side of your slides in your notes section. The zone of proximal development is the third section. The zone of proximal development is the area of learning that an MKO assists a student in developing a higher level of learning. The goal is for the facilitator to be less involved as the student develops the necessary skills. We'll go over a physical copy of the zone of proximal development in the next slide. Vygotsky believed, or describes it as, the distance between the actual development level as determined by independent problem solving and the level of potential development as determined through the problem solving under adult guidance or in collaboration with more capable peers. So here we have a physical diagram of the ZPD. The purple represents where your students are coming to you from. Whatever level that they start at, it's in the purple zone. The green is where we would like to see our students develop to. And the blue is the zone of proximal development. This is where the learning happens through scaffolding. Vygotsky argues that rather than examining what a student knows to determine intelligence, it is better to examine his or her ability to problem solve independently and his or her ability to solve problems with the help of an adult. And it is from that zone of proximal development that we come to scaffolding. Vygotsky believed that children would not advance very far if they were left to discover everything on their own, and noted that good teachers should present materials that is too difficult and pull the students along. When scaffolding, the MKO becomes a supportive tool for the student in the zone of proximal development. So I want you guys to think for yourselves before we pair off and share. What are the advantages of using scaffolding in the classroom? Great job, guys. So we can sum up it as saying scaffolding is an advantage to the classroom because it provides support, it functions as a tool, it extends the range of the worker, and it allows students to accomplish a task otherwise impossible. Vygotsky defines scaffolding instruction as the role of teachers and others in supporting the learner's development and providing support structures to get to that next level. Teachers provide scaffolding so that the learner can accomplish certain tasks they would otherwise not be able to accomplish on their own. The goal of the educator is for the student to become an independent learner and problem solver. So finally, guys, as we're wrapping up, we're going to go over some practical applications that we can use in the classroom. I want you guys to think by yourselves, then we'll pair up for the final time, and then we'll share. How can we practically apply Vygotsky's theory to our everyday classrooms? Great, guys. Physical arrangement in the classroom. We can arrange our desks in clusters, arrange other workplaces for peer instruction, collaboration, and small group instruction. This not only promotes language social interactions, but it also promotes learning from your peers. We can use scaffolding strategies, which motivates the child's interest in the task. We can start off by breaking the task down into manageable steps. We can provide some direction to keep the child focused. We can reduce the factors that cause frustration, and we can model and define the expectations of the activity. In reciprocal strategies, we can use prompts to illustrate each of the 4 skills to be practiced. Summarizing, clarifying, questioning, and predicting have students buddy read and practicing using those actual reciprocal strategies. And finally, we can perfect our lesson content. The teacher should act as a facilitator and help the students achieve his or her own proximity development through all possible means. We can start off by creating lessons that engage student interests and give them a basis for language when socially interacting and using technology and handling and activities to further engage them in learning. So I hope you guys learned a lot from Vygotsky's theory. I certainly have. It's an important piece to have when pursuing the teaching profession. You all have a good night and good luck.